Good, John. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to reach out to Coach Stratford and men's soccer team and congratulate them on getting to the College Cup, and good luck to them on Friday versus Clemson. So really excited for them and hope they advance. And secondly, I'd like to tell the women's program and Coach Kellogg what a fabulous win they had last night against the top 25 team in Penn State, and got a chance to go over there and see them play in the fourth quarter after the radio show, and I was very complimentary of them and those girls and how hard they play, and they just really compete. And congratulations to them on a big win, and they're at home. So moving on to looking back at St. John's on Friday and our schedule. Saturday we had to take off. Sunday we came in here and took a little different approach on Sunday and even yesterday in terms of how we approached the build up to the game, and we probably started the scouting one day earlier than we typically did. So we worked on Pitt on Sunday, and I took a different approach in terms of splitting our teams in practice and really mix and match. So it was a really competitive 2 days. So leading up to that point, you wanted to get all those reps for those top 6-7 guys and keep those guys on the same team and build that chemistry. And I think I got that done, and I wanted to take a different approach and really make it as competitive as possible for 2 days building up. And then today I'll back off a little bit and try to save some legs, knowing it's a game tomorrow. It's a late game. So excited about the 190th Backyard Brawl, and excited to be a part of it and know exactly how much it means to our people in West Virginia, and we're going to go out there and compete.
So Pitt, in terms of what they do, any different than the last few years, or is this same style? Obviously everybody's got roster turnover, so.
I didn't look back at a lot of what they did last year. I mean, I didn't look at that film. I remember it pretty vividly, and they zoned us quite a bit, and we did a pretty good job of handling it. But yeah, they've the biggest carryover from last year is Henson. Henson is he's a matchup problem for almost any team that he's going to go against. So his size and strength and the ability to shoot the ball as well as he can, and how easily he can get it off, regardless of who it is in front of him. He's a big matchup problem for anybody, including us. So
Cable's history's been 4 out, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So is it similar to what he's normally doing?
Well, they're heavy guard play. I mean, you look at between the three scorers, main scorers, Henson, Leggett, and Carrington, they score 50 of their 82 points, and two of those are guards. So they're not the type of team that's going to pound it down low, and they don't have that type of structure, and their offensive attack really comes from those three guys in a lot of ways. But yeah, they have 2 point guards that are freshmen, and Carrington he's special. He's a special freshman, so he's very talented and very he's a matchup issue for us as well. So they got some really talented guys and a solid roster, and they rebounded extremely well. That's obviously we've had our deficiencies there in the defensive rebounding perspective. So it's something that it'll be a key to our game for sure, and it'll be key to any game we play. So, St. John's kind of had their way physicality-wise down in the paint. Pitt, they're going to rebound as well as St. John's, but they're more of a perimeter shooting team, not as much of pounding down low.
Big jump shots and driven grass.
Yep.
Coach, you were talking about matchup problems, and with Henson, he's 6'8", 230, 240, whatever he is. He's our leading three-point shooter, which kind of unique. Leggett, the shooting of their two guard is their leading rebounder. So I mean, it seems like there's some uniqueness there with their lineup.
No, they rebounded really well at all positions, and when you see guards that rebound with that type of numbers, it's very concerning. And even going into the St. John's game, guys, I said, guys, you got to understand, 1 through 5's got to check out. I'm not worried about running out. I'm not worried about getting. I'd love to get easy buckets in transition, but we're not there right now. we have to be more concerned about finishing possessions than we are running out and having a numbers advantage on the offensive end. And, for the most part, we kept them out of transition, but, we just disciplined down the stretch. We just couldn't come up with a big play, a big rebound. You look back at the one play, it's a 2-point game with 2 minutes to go, and the ball just bounced a little bit the wrong way, and we're trying to save it, inbounds underneath our basket, and everybody's kind of thought we had it under control and kind of going the other direction, and Kobe threw it into, I believe, Pat, and they just end up with an easy bucket, and that puts you down 4 with 2 minutes to go. That's a heck of a difference. So instead of me, coming down and calling timeout and getting a really good set and putting us in position to win, we're up, behind the 8 ball again. So it's our margin. I tell our guys all the time, our margin of error is so slim. Those small things. It's a game of inches in a lot of ways. If we don't come up with those 50-50 balls and do everything the appropriate way, it's going to be hard down the stretch.
And then obviously, when you came to West Virginia and started, working your way up, some of those years were in the old Big East days. Just kind of wondering, like, over the years, what has your thoughts been about the WV-Pitt rivalry, and if you have any good stories or memories? Or
the one that just sticks out vividly to me is that 3 overtime game up there. That was an instant classic, and we came up on the wrong end of that one, but it was such a battle, and almost every Pitt West Virginia game is a complete battle, knockdown, drag out, but that one seemed like to be one of the most iconic games we probably played here. We didn't come up with the win, but it was an instant classic in my mind.
I assume with your roster, you do not want to see a 3 overtime game.
No,
But you're
please
probably,
no.
But you're probably going to see a.
If we play a
battle.
20-minute game, I'll sign up for that right now.
20-minute games would be good for you.
Yeah, they've been good. I mean, if you look at our scoring production and I think the stats, what does it say? We're plus 22 for the 7 games in the first half and minus 25 in the second half. So, that's pretty indicative of, what we got going on with our roster, trying to manage everything.
When you walk off the court at halftime, and I mean, you can do this for all 7 games, are you sitting there thinking, okay, how do I steal minutes? How do I manage my roster? How do I manage time to try to get through that? Because you're going to get worn down. It seems like that's happening every game.
Yeah, it goes through my mind 24/7. I mean, it's what keeps me up at night trying to manage it all. So our guys are giving everything they got. I mean, they're competing. I tell them all the time, we can't take plays off, and you can't ever rest when you're on the floor. We got to figure that out. Once you take a play off, you'll get taken advantage of and put you behind the 8 ball.
You mentioned that was that 3 overtime game was a battle all the way through. How do you? I mean, you probably don't want that either. How do you keep a rivalry game from, with a roster like you got, from expanding into, a street fight?
Yeah, we can't get into a fouling match by any means. I want to play way more aggressive and play way more aggressive defensively, but you're playing with fire sometimes there when you do so, because you certainly don't want certain guys in foul trouble. That proved critical to us with Jesse sitting on the bench and only playing 26 minutes rather than playing 33, 34 minutes the other night. So got to be careful. I mean, a couple of Jesse's fouls were ticky-tack fouls that, he could have prevented, 100% could have prevented. But down the stretch, I wasn't real excited about the way they called the game late. So he knew what he's doing.
You're on the eve of coaching your first Pitt West Virginia game. I mean, something in your stomach tell you it's different, or is there anything like that that will go on, or does go on?
Well, a little different from this side of things,
Yeah.
in the head chair, yeah. Everything's a little different. Every day is a little different than it's been. So certainly wish I had a full deck of cards to work with, but I don't, and we're trying to figure out how we're put ourselves in a position to win each game.
You mentioned you're 3-4, and you're obviously not happy about that, but you can't be displeased with the effort. I mean, it's been there all 7 games. How do you keep your guys focused and I guess going towards a goal when you know you're dealing with things that you really can't control?
You know, the first thing that comes to mind: bend it, don't break. I mean, we're bending, and 3-4 doesn't sit right with me whatsoever. Doesn't sit right with them. Doesn't sit right with our staff. Our net ranking doesn't sit well. But it is what it is right now. And like I told them, take a hard look at that board up there. It has our net rating and everybody else, and you know who we've lost to, who we've beat, and who we got coming up. And look at that number. I said that needs to be rock bottom for us. It really needs to be rock bottom. We can, and it's natural for a lot of people when they're struggling to start pointing fingers, or this, that, and the other, and try to figure out different solutions. But stay the course. Stay the course. We got help coming. We're going to do everything to put ourselves in a position to win each and every game. And when we get to the point that we can look back at this moment and say, yeah, that was rock bottom. That was rock bottom, and we figured out a way and had to resolve to continue to improve each and every week, each and every time out on the floor. And I think that's where we're at right now.
Or do you educate the guys who haven't participated in a pit game about the history of this, the intensity of it, or do you just say, hey, they've played, they'll know what it's about?
After we watched the St. John's, breakdown of film on Sunday, and watch those things that we could clean up and those possessions down the stretch, and showed them, on film, the rebounding and the 50-50 balls and all those things. That's the first thing we started talking about before we got into the scouting report. And, when you put Pitt up on the board, you could see everybody kind of sit up in their chair and was at full attention. And I made sure every one of those guys went to the Pitt football game in the fall, and I referenced that. And they knew, even the new guys, they were well aware of the difference that game was compared to every other game that, they attended. And they could feel the energy, they could feel the passion from our fan base. So, yes, they've been educated. And you look at my staff, they've competed in it, so they're well aware. And the heat in practice has been turned up a notch by the way I structured it, and the way we went at each other the last 2 days. It's been turned up a notch. Like it, we really did turn that page, and Pitt's the next game on the schedule.
Josh, can you get back to that a little bit? Like the changes you kind of described here a little bit, and then you pointed out competitiveness, which I don't know, it doesn't think you haven't been competitive. Are you looking for more of that, and what were you trying to maneuver and arrange in practice to do that?
Well, I was, in a lot of ways, I was trying to manage legs, we were playing a bunch of guys heavy minutes that never played heavy minutes. We were playing a group of guys there before knowing the challenges that hadn't played a lot together. So I had to really build that chemistry between those top 5, 6 guys for a matter of 3-4 weeks. And, mixing and matching some of those guys, whether it be Ray and Kerr, and putting all those guys into a position where they're guarding somebody different each day, and making a more competitive positional battle between them, in practice, was kind of the approach I took. And it really worked. It really worked in terms of guys seeing different dudes out there guarding them, and positional battles, like I said. And I mixed it up both days, so they didn't see the same look both days. So it was very competitive. But now I got to, preparing for Pitt today, I got to go back to first team, second team, putting a scout team together, and locking in on those guys, getting back together on the court together, the top 5, 6 guys.
You mentioned a couple times that you'd like to add somebody at the semester break, at least one somebody. How wide in that? 1, 2? What do you look for in a position if you had your druthers, or just anything that can get you?
Perfect world, I could get a big in here or even a shooting guard, but I have nothing to report on that end, or could I if I did. So, yeah, if the opportunity presents itself and it makes sense to us, we'll 100% pursue it.
Can you sell this game as kind of a spark or a catalyst? I mean, they're coming into this hunting for a win. They've lost 2 in a row. You guys are hunting for a win. And you've got a Drexel team that beat Villanova on the backside of this. So can you use this as a springboard to maybe reinvigorate your guys?
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned it to them. I mean, they've just played 2 high major games in their house, and they lost them in 2 very competitive games between Missouri and Clemson. So they're coming into it with a terrible taste in their mouth too. We're coming off a loss to St. John's and losing 3 of 4, and each one of them being an absolute battle. We got a terrible taste in our mouth, and it's gonna probably come down to who wants it worse, and that better be West Virginia.
Coach, the ADs of both school, Ren and Heather, I think they both publicly expressed interest in continuing the series. Have you heard anything about that becoming more?
No, I mean, I think it's good for both teams. It's a really good rivalry to continue on, regardless, and especially from a business perspective. How could you not think that's good for both programs? So yeah, the conversations are being had between them, and I fully anticipate coming to an agreement and extending this. It's not on paper by any means, but those conversations are being had. So it's been great. 6 game. I think the first one was a 4 game contract. The second one was a 2 game, but it's worked well in our favor thus far, and I think it's been good for both programs.
And hypothetically, bringing someone else in, I'm not quite clear on, would it be someone who transferred at the semester break, or would it be someone who's currently already in the portal? I mean,
It could be a number of different things.
Right.
It's just sometimes you locate somebody you think could help you, and then you run into a different snag. Something holds it up, or so. It's not necessarily somebody in the portal. I mean, it could be somebody in post-grad out there that's immediately eligible. So a lot of eligibility concerns out there, and there's not a lot of guys out there with, shining from all angles, because think about where we're at.
Considering your track record, it's going to be difficult getting them eligible anyway,
Yeah.
considering the luck you've had.
that was kind of my question, the eligibility issue. Like if someone, and I don't want to, hypothetically, if someone from another school transferred during the semester break, they wouldn't be eligible right away, would they? Or would they? I'm not.
Each situation is different. I'm not going to pretend to know I know every single rule, and trust me, our compliance got to look up half of them. So I take a situation into their office anytime we do and say, hey, where are we at with this one? What do we think? So, yeah, and I'm not going to just bring somebody in at this point to bring somebody in and take a chance when they're borderline on whether they can actually help us. So I feel good about where we're going, and hopefully we can add 2 or 3 pieces from our own roster and in the coming weeks. So that'll help tremendously.
One of those pieces is definitely coming back in a couple of games. So when Kirk comes back, how does this team, not just depth-wise, but style-wise, what's Kirk do that changes your style? How will it look once he's on the floor?
Well, Kerr's a magician in so many ways in terms of reading defenses, and I've talked numerous times about this is what we've put in place was built around a point guard like Kerr. And not that Kobe hasn't done a great job. He's done an absolutely phenomenal job with, kind of, it's not really his natural position, but he's steady with it. But, we can kick Kobe off the ball a little bit and put him in positions where, he's been a masterful defender in so many ways, for us throughout the years, and put him on positions that, we can kind of focus him in other ways. But it's great to have 2 ball handlers on the floor. It's great to have Kobe out there, put him positioned to take advantage of smaller guards in the post. And And but having Kerr out there is a game changer in terms of our offense and offensive production because not only is he masterful at timely passes, it seems to be puts it right in the pocket when it needs to be there. So I think our production from a field goal percentage will go up tremendously just having a point guard like that on the floor.
Faster with him? Faster, do you push the pace a lot more than you
Yeah,
do?
we would. Yeah, we would certainly push the pace a lot more with him, and especially if we can maybe, I feel like each and every day we're getting better and better news with the cook. So, hopefully we see him in the coming weeks back out there.
Statistically, with him in the games he played, looking at about 10, 15 points difference.
Yeah, that's what it's shown. You're looking at a 2-game sample size
Right.
versus a 7-game sample size, and we're pretty much dead even. I think 63 points a game, opponents 63 points a game, somewhere in there. From the 7-game sample size, 3-4 record. But you go back and look at that Vanderbilt scrimmage and George Mason scrimmage, which the Vanderbilt, I only played him about 22 minutes, I believe, something like that, and. But yeah, it's about a 13, 14 point differential in terms of production. So.
More questions with Pitt. Does Coach Capel also, in a sense, have to be somewhat cautious with this guy because they're not very deep either? So I mean, does that kind of do you see two kind of similar stories in this game in terms of
I'm sure he's a lot deeper than me. From what I see, he's a lot deeper than what I'm dealing with. So it's just whether he wants to use the guys he's got available. So how deep he goes, that's up to him. But
And then with Henson, when you guys are in man-to-man, I'm assuming Quinn might be your best matchup against him?
he's going to see a couple different guys.
Yeah.
So there's several guys that have been working against Henson, and we're trying to simulate that. So it ain't going to be just Quinn.
Josh, if I could go back to the addition, sorry, I know you don't want to talk about this, but how, I guess the balance of you would like to get somebody, so you may spend a lot of time or energy just networking, I guess, because the guys in the portal are probably there for a reason. You do have some connections, but you also have a lot to do here too. Is it too tempting to go and try to add somebody? And then how hard is it to find, slam dunk, yes, this is a good idea?
Yeah, the slam dunk is almost impossible at this point. If it was a slam dunk, it wouldn't be available. So I mean, it's just it's the matter of can he help you or can he not? Because there's a lot to catch up on, and so we even got certain guys on our roster. You don't have the whole playbook in mind when they're in the game because some guys just don't have that type of basketball IQ. So adding somebody at semester and thinking they're automatically going to be, one, capable of competing in the Big 12 each and every night, and two, being able to pick everything up that we've done and understand what we've done, it's a stretch in a lot of ways.
Even with Kerr, do you have to temper yourself because he's not in game shape? He's practicing, but he's not out there playing the games.
Yeah, he's not, but he is. We're very well aware of what minutes he plays in practice and how much, how the mileage, so to speak, and so it gets quantified to everybody else on the team based on the type of minutes you're playing. So
The idea is to get him on the ground running when
Yeah.
you guys
I
get him back.
don't anticipate that being a challenge whatsoever. You say game shape and game legs, he might not have that 100%, but it's not like he's coming off injury. He's competing every day and doing that extra work to stay on top of making sure he's ready to go.
You have to talk to him about. Don't try to win the games. Don't try to do too much because the team's struggling. Just be you.
We'll get into that closer to we got 2 more games before we see him on the floor. So
What is he able to do right now? Can he even do any conditioning work, and how long before you think you get some word on what his status is going to be?
that's all up to the medical people. It's trending in a positive direction. So I think in I think you'll see him, in the coming weeks for sure.
He gets shots up on the side. What can he actually do?
I'm not going to get into what he can and can't do. It's just, I feel like I'm just happy for him in terms of, where it's going. So, it could have been drastically different for him, and you worry when something like that happens that heck, basketball is 90% of your life, and you have to take that away from him, and I don't think that's going to be the case whatsoever. Thank you.